So in many ways, we black people, and by extension people of color, are really among a people who have been the most studied, the most analyzed, and yet remain among the least understood. There are, have been, and remain a myriad of prevailing and perversive narratives about who we are and what we are that have made it difficult for the richness and the complexity of what it truly means to be black in these United States of America to be completely understood. I often say, in our community, our therapeutic community, it's often noted that it's fairly easy to find out what it is that we're grappling with in our lives by what we write about and what we talk about. And these days, I'm actually just transfixed with this notion of untold stories. Because for the most part, though we are often analyzed, often studied, our stories remain untold. And our untold stories make it difficult for so many of us to truly and authentically know ourselves and to know each other. I just had an experience last week in a training I was doing on racial humility, and my heart began to weep as a black participant stood up, lips quivering, and she stated, "I'm 60 years old," as she began to cry. And I thought I'd worked out all of these racial issues by now. "It's very sad," she said. "It's even more painful. I'm a mother and a grandmother, and I'm still trying to figure out what it means to be black in this country." I heard her words, and I shared in the deeply rooted race-related pain in which she expressed that self-discovery is difficult when our stories remain untold. And it's really difficult to recover from that which is yet to be discovered. So this notion of untold stories continue to haunt me. And there have been several epiphanies that have crystallized this notion for me. And one was the Baltimore uprising. And I was telling Rich, we were working on a piece, that I sat watching obsessively hours and hours and hours of the coverage. And then began to have this experience where I felt like I was actually losing my mind. Honestly, I felt crazy. Because I'm watching an expression of emotions that I don't condone. Buildings burning, cars turning over. And yet, if I were to be honest with you, there's a part of me that had this piece of exhilaration, which I couldn't understand. That intellectually, I can totally condemn it. I give lectures on youth and violence. I've written a book on adolescent violence, and yet, as I'm sitting in the serenity of my living room watching this, there's a piece of me that's having this a kind of cognitive dissonance because I don't believe in this, and yet I felt this applause inside of me. And what I realized was that it wasn't so much the violence that was applauding, that there was some piece of envy on the one hand and some piece of extreme, liberating gratitude. It sounds awfully perverse that I had for these young, mostly black boys and men who were pushing back. And I think what it did in that moment was reminded me of all the times that I've been confronted with the indignities where my spirit, my soul had been so incredibly assaulted by the sharp edges of racism, and I didn't feel the freedom to comment on it.